NICEHCK. Hello, I'm Master Marslander, and this is the new NX7 MK4 by NICEHCK. This is an IEM that looks at the $100 range IEM aesthetic and says, no, I'm going to do my own thing. Full disclosure that the NX7 MK4 was provided to us by NICEHCK, so thank you very much, NICEHCK. We appreciate you, but as always, all thoughts and opinions about this IEM are going to be my own. I do apologize if my voice sounds a little off in this video. I've been sick. And here they are, the MK4s. Oh my goodness. Yes, these are the 4th generation of the NX7 line by NICEHCK. And I mean, are you kidding me? Look at these things. They're flippin' gorgeous. Just look at that. Oh my goodness. What we're looking at here is a body of mixed materials. We have some aluminum alloy, but that face you see right there with all that swirl and color and texture and flakes, this is actually stabilized wood. Man, it is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful stabilized wood with environmental friendly resin and PC. Man, does that look freaking good. And no two of these are ever going to look the same because the pattern's always going to be different. They're gorgeous. They're absolutely stunning. Man, oh man, does that look nice. Go ahead and take the whole look at the shell here. So yeah, the front face plate of the shell is beautiful, beautiful. You have this lovely kind of brass ring around it, which does have it labeled NX7 MK4 with your little left and right indicator clearly marked. I super duper appreciate that. On the back side here, we have a semi-clear shell that you can kind of take a look at the internals of the unit, which is super neat. Nice and subtle. It looks really nice as well. And the shape is small. It's super light. It's a really great shape, really great ear shape. At least for my ears, it does an exceptional job. So what we have in terms of drivers for the MK4s here is a 7 driver per unit design, but let me break that down for you a little bit so that it makes sense. What this is a dual beryllium plated dynamic driver with 4 balanced armatures and then a 7-layer PZT driver per unit, so per channel. So yeah, sure, I suppose technically 7 drivers. I think that's a little bit misleading. It's really more primarily a dual dynamic driver design. But hey, you know, we got lots of other tech in here too. You gotta showcase that. Like some other IEMs we've been looking at lately, it does have a replaceable nozzle tip also to allow for additional tuning. So I can pop off the nozzle here and replace with other nozzle types that will subtly adjust the tuning of the IEM. We'll see more about that when we start talking about accessories, but cool little modular system. They have 39 ohms of impedance and sensitivity that varies depending on the nozzle type that you use. There are 3 different colors. You have a gold nozzle, a red nozzle, and a black nozzle. The gold nozzle filter will give you 112 dB of sensitivity, the red filter will give you 113 dB, and the black filter will give you 110 dB. In terms of our connectors, we do use the standard 0.78mm 2-pin connector. Lovely, very, very good stuff. Then in terms of accessories, we start with what is actually a fairly nice little box. If you look at the unboxing video, which is linked in the video description, you'll be able to see how all this played out. But yes, you got this nice kind of little textured box here that does say NICEHCK on it and nothing else. And then inside the box, you're going to find your IEMs, which are, they come pre-attached to the cable, which I don't have a problem with, but, you know, interesting all the same. And then in here is where you're going to find a really nice assortment of tips. So yes, a nice assortment of tips. They are all silicone, but you get some color coordinated tips, red, black, blue, white, yellow, and then an all black tip as well. And they are different styles of tip, not just in color. As you can see here, the all black tips are taller, while the colored coated tips are a little bit shorter and a bit more kind of girthy. So different size, different fits for your ear. I tend to prefer the taller tips. They kind of have a better fit, better seal as they insert deeper into my ear canal. But yeah, man, plenty of tips. Wow, look at the tips. Tips. Next thing you get are these swappable nozzle tips, these nozzle filters. Like I said, you get 3 different sets. You have the red set, the gold set, and then the black set. And these do adjust tuning, albeit a little bit kind of subtly, but they do it. And yeah, it's nice to have the modular system. It's pretty easy to do. And we'll talk a bit more about how they affect the overall sound performance when we talk about sound, but that's also quite nice. Then of course we get our cable here, which is a silver plated cable. Mine right now terminates to a 3.5mm, though there is a 4.4 pentagon option. Make sure you select that option when you check out for your purchase. It's a good cable. It's fine. I don't really have a problem with it. It certainly does does the job. It's a little bit kind of, I don't know, a little stringy for me. It doesn't really hold its shape so much, but sometimes it just has a tendency to get a little tangled up for me, especially here at the split. As you can see, it's a little bit, I don't know, a little bit janky in some areas, but this split section gets tangled up for me quite a lot. So not a huge fan of that, but otherwise it's a nice looking cable. It's pretty simple. And then the actual split here is super glossy, super chromy. I don't think it's real metal. No, I'm pretty sure that is plastic. And then likewise, you have a similarly very chromy, albeit also knurled little slider here for your split size and tension. But it's a decent cable. It's fine. Just a little bit tangly, but man, it goes nice with the IEM. And then last but not least is this leather carry case. I don't know how well the camera's picking this up, but this is blue. It's like a dark navy blue. It's quite nice. This is a nice case. It's a little bit on the chonkier side, but man, it feels great. It's stitched together and put together very well. Pop that guy open. And the inside here is a nice sort of soft velour, but fortunately not the kind of inside velour that you usually get with cases like this where Velcro will stick to it. Man, do I hate that. Fortunately, Velcro will not stick to this. I really appreciate that. So if you wanted to have, for example, the included Velcro strap that comes for the cable, this thing is not going to, stick onto the material in here and tear it all up. So if you really want to have that for your cable, you could do that without worrying about it getting all messed up in your box. I really appreciate that. And the box has a little baggy slot right there for other accessories or whatever you want to do with it. But very nice box. It's great. A little bit of magnets in there. Very nice. Real leather too. Cool. So yeah, it's a pretty robust overall accessories package. Going into fit and comfort here, like I said, they're extremely lightweight. Like very lightweight, almost to the point where it feels like I'm not wearing anything at all. Like there's no weight on my ears at all. And the cable itself is also extremely light, so I don't feel any kind of pull down whatsoever from the cable. And then the IEMs, the shells themselves in my ears, just extremely light. And they're pretty small. They're not huge, honking, giant shells. So they fit in there, for me, extremely well. The shape of these is excellent. And like I said, I prefer to have the kind of deeper ear tips. And for me, they fit, again, amazingly well and provide an excellent seal. Can barely hear my fan. Certainly can't hear my PC anymore. So nice passive isolation. It's excellent isolation, and yeah, it fits great. I can wear these for hours, and that's excellent, because, not to sound like a broken record, but IEM comfort is always an issue for me. Don't typically like to have things in my ears, but man, these feel great. Before we talk too much about sound performance, let's take a minute to talk about these filters, these extra nozzle tips, this modular system, and how it does affect the tuning of the overall sound performance. It is a very subtle change between most of these, but we'll kind of break this down in very general terms of how they're supposed to respond and how they actually kind of, in real life practice, sound. Starting with the gold set is supposed to be their more balanced kind of sound profile, and in actual listening practice, I found the gold to be fairly neutral, albeit slightly V-shaped, but overall did a really excellent, very pleasant sort of sound. The red set of filters is meant to be the mid-high emphasis filter, and in practice after listening with them, they're very, very similar to the gold in terms of the overall sound, although there is definitely a slight elevation in the high mids and the treble in the red set. So much so that actually it can tend to get a little bit shouty in vocals. So there is a bit of a trade-off there. You are getting a bit more elevation in your high mids and your treble, but at the expense of a little bit of shoutiness. The black filters are labeled as the heavy bass filter, and in real-time listening, basically you're getting a borderline veiling in your mid-range using the black. It is a significantly smoother and more relaxed listening experience than the other two filters, but it doesn't seem to so much add more bass rather than it just overemphasizes your mid bass. Your mid bass gets very kind of bloated and blooming, and it is quite more relaxed over the entire range, just making it a lot warmer, but again, a bit veiled. In terms of which filter do I prefer, it's generally going to be the gold. I think the gold does a decent job of sounding fairly kind of a little balanced, though it has a bit of a fun V shape going to it, so I kind of prefer that over the others. I think that the reds are just too shouty sometimes, and the black are a bit too bloated for me. And then just to be clear, all you have to do to swap these tips out is to just screw them. They just simply screw right on like that. Boom. Here's your tip. Easy peasy. Okay, let's talk sound performance, and do note that the sound profile I'm going to be describing to you moving forward is with the gold filter plates installed, because again, that's what I preferred. They have a bit of a Harman Target sort of sound, so it is fairly neutral sounding, very well kind of balanced, but again with a slight V shape to them, so that you get a little extra kind of pizzazz. The low end can hit pretty hard and pretty deep with a pretty satisfying and visceral kind of kick in the chest. The sub bass is overall pretty subtle, but on certain tracks that really emphasize and elevate sub bass, you're going to be able to hear it, so it actually does have some pretty impressive extension overall. Your mid bass is decently resolving. It isn't overly blooming or muddy, getting, too much into your mid range there, as long as you're not using the black filters. So the mid bass is actually pretty nice. It's not super overly emphasized, and it feels pretty well controlled, staying in its range. That being said though, sometimes the low mids, so as soon as you start to break out of the mid bass and into your mid range, some of that area does seem to sound a little bit lost. Certain kind of details or certain frequency ranges I am expecting to hear in the low mids, they either feel a little bit lost or maybe a little bit misplaced, but it's pretty subtle. The mid-range is pretty clear and enjoyable. It's fairly resolving and gives you a nice amount of instrument layering while also providing some pretty decent vocal timbre. The high mids seem to have a bit of a roll-off, like they have a slight ceiling that is particularly preventing really shouty, bright vocals from getting too fatiguing, at the sacrifice of maybe a little bit of kind of resolution and detail. The treble range is overall well controlled, if not maybe rolled off a bit too early. It never gets too hot or too bright, but also doesn't present a whole lot of texture and detail. So it's a very relaxed and smooth treble range, albeit maybe a little bit too calm. Soundstage is a little bit narrow. It's not beaming directly into your ears. It doesn't feel like the ensemble is in your brain and behind your eyes or anything like that, but it's also not really out and around you. You don't feel very immersed. It's somewhere like, man, I don't know, a layer maybe away from your ear, so you do have just the slightest bit of air there, but otherwise it is a pretty subtle kind of soundstage. Imaging is pretty solid with good separation and decent precision. It is omnidirectional all around you, but actually offers more kind of imaging resolution and definition to the sides than it is so much directly in front of you. Things directly in front of you kind of get not necessarily muddied or mashed together, but it just isn't quite as resolving right in front of you right here as it is. Once it starts to kind of get here outwards, you're starting to really notice more kind of precision and directionality. Is that even a word? But yeah, sides are better than directly in front. In fact, the imaging is decent enough that I would say they make for pretty good gaming IEMs. I've been using these while playing the Elden Ring DLC. It's pretty great. It's pretty nice. I hear when certain death is coming my way, let me tell you. The NX7 Mark IV is a great all-rounder IEM that is going to perform very well in most conditions and most situations, and it has a sound profile that I think most people are going to generally really enjoy. The overall package that they come with is really nice. It's a very premium kind of package, and you get a really robust amount of accessories to go along with it. The module nozzles allow for a little bit of tuning, so there's that as well, which is a nice little addition to kind of let you get the sound that you want. And then, of course, the big show ender here is its design, its aesthetic. It's an aesthetic that either you're going to really, really love or you're going to think is maybe too gaudy, you're not going to be into it, but I think they're gorgeous. I think they're genuinely beautiful, especially in this price range, $110, and you're getting an IEM that looks like IEMs in the $400 to $500 range. It's a beautiful IEM. One of the most premium looking IEMs for around $100 that I've really ever seen. And again, it has a sound profile that really kind of matches its aesthetic. It's a sound profile that really only the snobbiest audio enthusiasts are going to be, raising their noses at. So, very solid IEM. Excellent, excellent IEM. And man, what a beautiful deal at $110. I freaking love the NX7. So yeah, I think that NICEHCK did an amazing job here. This is really pretty dang excellent. So thank you very much, NICEHCK, for providing the N7X Mark IV to us for this review. We very much appreciate you. I hope that you all enjoyed this, and I'll be seeing you again very soon.